I don't understand what you're taking a photo of here. You just thought, man, my pasty thigh sure is looking good today. I gotta show Zach this. Thank you. Not interested. Welcome back to another episode of Fixie Points, the show where you send in photos of your trash fix gears in order to be arbitrarily roasted and awarded Fixie Points. Just to be clear, Fixie Points is satire. Here we're just poking fun at the people that take other people's bikes way too seriously, because the only person's opinion of your bike that actually matters is your own. And what really matters is whether you actually enjoy riding and owning your bike. With that said, thanks to all of you, over 100 of you, for your Fixie Points submissions, or at least that's what I would be saying if any of you knew how to build a proper bike. What's up? I'm ready to be disappointed. Life is short, but don't make it shorter, so be sure to ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous, no matter how garbage your bike is. And hit the subscribe button to watch more Fix Gear videos just like this one, and also ones that are much better than this one. I haven't seen any of these bikes yet. Let's pick a few at random and see what y'all have got. For steel bikes that weigh well under 20 pounds or 9 kilograms that you can customize to be your dream bike right out of the box, consider checking out Wabi Cycles, linked at the top of the description. How disappointing that our first bike is actually a properly built fix gear. I've always been a big fan of the Bianchi Super Pistas, because that Bianchi Celeste that they use, or rather what the rest of the world calls toothpaste green, reminds me how important good dental hygiene is. And it looks like you have good hygiene habits for your bike, keeping it pearly white and minty fresh. Good call on going with the black cockpit, as the specialized tri-spoke and the carbon fork help to tie the whole front end together. Although your Mike Super Type seat post reminds me of a teenager's gaping open pores, I must say that you do have good taste, combining Italian components with an Italian frame set. I'm not a fan of Mavic ellipses because when it comes down to it, they are just more expensive Mike pistons that use a stupid proprietary lock ring. You could say that ellipses are Mike pistons with more Fixie Points, and that's what this show is about. Overall, this Bianchi pista reminds me of the good old days, the mid-2000s, where the only place that you could reliably buy good track components was from retired track racers. I like the mix and match nature of the frame and the fork, and to a certain extent even the wheels. The only thing that would make it even more 2008 would be if you sticker bombed it, but as it is, this build is a more mature representation of that era. This bike gets plus 86 Fixie Points. This bike is so hipster that, number one, I've never seen it and I had to look up what it is. You say it's an LD Labs? I haven't heard the name LD Labs in at least 5 years, and I didn't even know that they're still in business. It amazes me how these super hipster companies can be so underground and still be in business. I've only ever heard of the LDG Aluminum Aero MK2, which is what people bought back in the day when they were too much of a hipster to buy a MASH. Yeah, those people exist. But you decided to take it one step further and get their steel bike that I've never even seen or heard of. And if you take one look at this frame set, it's pretty obvious why nobody bought this thing. That down tube looks like they just royally messed up at the factory, looking pretty al dente to me, which is how I like my noodles, not how I like my bikes. It's so obvious that this bike was built to bar spin, and then you put drops on it, entirely defeating the purpose of why this bike even exists. If it weren't for that down tube, I would really like this bike, and I must say that you have built it up really well with the Dura Ace hubs, the Thompson bits, and the Omniums with the silver chainring. I think it all comes together quite nicely. It's just that with the drops and the SPDSL pedals, your bike reminds me of a skate punk kid that ended up growing up and becoming the establishment that he hated. With the risers, this bike gets it, and then with the drops, it's like, I'm getting too old for this. This al dente down tube gets plus 73 Fixie Points. Those decals look more appropriate for breath mints than a bike. How many times does it say Fuji on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, times 2, because there's 2 sides to a bike last time I checked. So that's 10, plus the ones in the middle, 11 for the C-tube, and I assume the head tube also says it. So that's a dozen times it says Fuji on this bike. It also appears that there's one on the down tube. That's a baker's dozen that it says Fuji on this bike. I don't even know why you're riding this bike. You're being a free advertisement for Fuji. The thing is, Fuji is a pretty entry-level and mid-range bike brand. Weird flex, but okay. That's like bragging to everybody. Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe it, but for my birthday that's coming up, we got reservations at Olive Garden. This is the best you've got. You're submitting this to be shown to thousands of hypercritical elitist hipsters, and you send me a vertical photo where your bike only has one brake lever, but it's okay that you only have one brake lever because you don't have any pedals, so you're not riding this bike anyway. Or maybe you just have no feet and one hand, and that's how you ride your bike. I won't judge if that's your case. All I'm saying is, it seems hard to ride a bike without feet. But if you do only have one hand, and you want to be as pro as this number of decals suggests you want to be, I say, why not just cut off the right half of the handlebars to save some weight? You're already cutting the pedals from your bike, so why stop there? Just cut the handlebars in half, and that way you have more wiggle room to add more decals. Because believe it or not, decals do add weight to your bike, and they definitely do slow you down. Oh, wait, you have pedals in this photo. Oh, that's very interesting. So this photo must be before this photo, and you had a terrible accident where you lost your feet. I'm sorry for your loss. Your frame looks like a Dentine ice packet, your headset looks like a quadruple stuffed Oreo, and you sent me what looks to be a screenshot of a photo instead of the photo itself. I'd give you more Fixie Points, but I think you could use more decals because I'm still seeing some blue in there. So this bike gets plus 68 Fixie Points. Go hard on me. Thank you for the invitation, but no thank you. You say that this is a custom track frame? Usually that's what people say on Craigslist when they're selling a stolen bike and they know nothing about bikes. So maybe it is custom, but it's stripped so you don't know what it is. But in that case, if you really did want Fixie Points, you would tell me who the builder is, how old he is, which town in Italy he grew up in, his favorite type of espresso, which free-range organic factory this aluminum came from, and the time and the temperature that was used to weld the aluminum tubes together. But since you just say it's a custom track bike, it just seems like a poor excuse of an attempt to get Fixie Points. In reality, you can claim that anything is custom in order to get status. I bought this shirt, custom, from a little place called Men's Warehouse. They do off the rack, but it's custom because I washed it a few times and it has my skin cells and hair in it. It's those little personal touches that I put into the shirt that makes it feel less like a shirt and more like an extension of my identity. You have a strong light chainring, and usually when products describe what they are, they usually aren't those things and are trying to make up for the fact. That's like expecting to meet an interesting girl from Tinder when she says she's quirky because she watches The Office. Or it's like saying your track frame set is custom when it's just an aluminum frame set that you put stickers on. And also, trash in the rear wheel. You should clean that out. It looks sloppy for your clearly custom track bike. A nice touch is that your seat post collar matches your hubs. You got a little bit carried away with the pink straps, in my opinion. It's the same color scheme as a 12-year-old girl's bedroom. I like that you're representing your riding group with your sticker right here, Infinity Pedal, and I like that you're at least self-aware. Infinity Pedal is the name of my group. I didn't come up with the name, and I can appreciate that you're self-aware and know that Infinity Pedal sounds really try-hard and honestly quite silly. Advice from me to you. If you want to fake your way into getting Fixie Points, you can't be so on the nose by saying, my bike is custom and strong and light. You have to be a bit more subtle than that and weave a story into it. A story of how that bike originated and how the little artisanal details accumulate into something special, because that's what hipsters like, and that's what gets Fixie Points. Good attempt. You're not sneaking any Fixie Points out of me though. This custom, strong, light fixed gear gets plus 65.89 Fixie Points. This person gets it. They're just describing their regular production bike as TIG-welded chromoly to make it sound a little bit more artisanal. The more details you give, the fancier it sounds. And then they describe the fork as straight blade chromoly. It's a unicrown fork and straight blade because they wanted to cut costs, but just because they said those details makes it sound a little fancier, see? I like the black wheels and I like the silver components. They might just be stock, but they're stock for a reason because it looks cool. And then you have this race face seat post on here that seems like you just put on there because you got a good deal on it. You got it at a swap meet for $5 and you just put it on there to try to personalize your bike, but in reality it just looks weird and out of place. It's a fixed gear, it's mostly stock. The parts that aren't stock, in my eyes, look a bit weird. Standard and unoffensive, you get plus 44 Fixie Points. You got the frame and the crankset off of Craigslist, and then you built the rest up with spare parts. It's almost fine because it's a spare, but why do you even own a green wheel in the first place? The light blue bar tape with the aggressively orange frame set, it almost complements each other, but there's just something off about it. Why are you buying all of these parts with weird colors? If you want to add accent color to your bike, you have to be very subtle and very intentional with which accent colors you choose and where you place those accent colors, and probably more importantly, where you don't place those accent colors. But when it comes down to it though, it's a Kilo TT, it's a complete bike, it works, it runs. You might not stop very well, you at least have a front brake, you don't have foot retention, so that's kind of sketch. Get some toe clips and straps and be on your merry way. Don't go looking for Fixie Points though, because with all those colors, it looks like somebody let their first grader dress themselves for the first time. Plus 28 Fixie Points. Here's my bike, it rides. I'm sure it does. Good for you. Plus 25 Fixie Points. You get slightly less Fixie Points than the previous one because it's mostly stock. And the owner of the Kilo TT at least went outside to take photos instead of their dingy living room that doesn't have a couch. Ex-Kieran rider owned and raced the Bridgestone frameset, refinished in blue powder coat. First of all, dope build. Secondly, dope porch. But you submitted 2 photos. This is one of them. But the other photo is one of... I don't understand what you're taking a photo of here. You just thought, man, my pasty thigh sure is looking good today. I gotta show Zach this. Thank you. Not interested. The powder coat job is done really well, and the decal placement is really nice as well. But I see that you didn't go full NJS. You do have Dura Ace hubs, which are riding on H+ Sun archetypes. Excellent wheels. It's just NJS would give you more Fixie Points if you were riding some Arias on there. And you also have a Brooks saddle. Don't get me wrong, it looks great on this bike, especially with the matching bar tape. And you at least have the 5 gold top tube protector for maximum NJS-ness. So I can forgive the Brooks saddle on this bike. And it's probably because you actually ride this bike and want to be comfortable on it. What doesn't make sense to me though, you have a super tall stem and then really deep track drops. It makes me think that you're riding track drops for the sake of riding track drops. The thing that worries me is that you're riding brakeless, but you have no foot retention, which makes me think, how do you stop this thing? And then I remembered, oh that's right, you don't need foot retention or brakes if you're only riding at 5 miles an hour. Which is a bit of a shame because this Bridgestone that is beautifully redone deserves better than that. I'm also not a fan of the chain tensioners. If you own an NJS bike, you should know how to tension a chain. It's not hard. Other than your clear incompetency as a rider, I must say that you do make good choices as a builder. The warmth of the honey bar tape and the honey brick saddle help to balance the coolness of the silver components along with the powder coats. My suggestion is to put a gold chain or a black and gold chain to help continue that balance of warmth and coolness to the bottom of the bike. This Bridgestone gets plus 70 Fixie Points. Hey Zach, just finished my dream bike. Would be cool if you rated, I guess. Your dream bike is a pixelated Surly Steamroller. My friend, you have to dream bigger than that. The Surly Steamroller, it's a nice bike, don't get me wrong, but it's a workhorse of a bike. It's like saying, someday I wish to have my birthday with reservations at Olive Garden. If you're gonna have dreams, don't be afraid to dream big. You're selling yourself short when your dream is to have a workhorse with mid-range components. But you know what? If you aim low, it's harder to fail. And if by this definition is your dream bike, you have achieved your dreams, which not many people can say. So don't let your dreams be dreams, especially if they are well within reach. Plus 50 Fixie Points. I know it's not as expensive or impressive as the bikes you get on the show, but I built it up myself from an old frame that needed lots of work, and I absolutely love this thing. It's a blast to ride, and since making it, I can't imagine ever going back to road bikes, even though I have some brutal hills. Best me. That story of being a recovery roadie really warmed my heart. And you're right. It's pretty basic but functional bike. It doesn't have the wow factor, but it still is a really solid, probably really solid. This thing looks like it's built like a tank. But you know what? I like conversions because they give new life to bikes that would otherwise just be rotting in a garage. It's like adopting a dog from the shelter. Sure, maybe it likes to eat your socks. Maybe you don't know exactly what type of bike it is or where it came from, but it's one that deserves love, and it's one that deserves a home, and I can see that you gave it to this bike. And the fact that you used to ride road bikes, and this is the bike that convinced you to stop riding road bikes so much, is quite inspirational to me for the power of fixed gear bikes. Because dang it doesn't matter if a fixed gear bike is flashy and custom, or custom as we've seen, and if it gets a lot of fixie points, if it's not ridden and loved. Because of that, I really like this bike, but this is the Fixie Points show. It's a conversion. You get plus 38 fixie points. Oh, he bought the Tsunami. He went to Ally Express. Oh, this is exciting. I didn't know people would actually gamble their safety to save money. I couldn't find your exact frame set, but this one is close enough. And you know, it's quite impressive that they're selling a complete frame set for $155, especially ones with multiple colors. Wow, you get colors on a budget. I'm not here to make fun of people that are on a tight budget, and you say that Tsunamis are pretty popular in the Philippines. The thing is, I would like to see one for myself and ride, well, maybe not ride one depending on how sketchy they are, but I would at least like to see one for myself before I pass judgment on it. It's just that it's cheap Chinese bikes that you intend to ride brakeless on, and that you need to rely on, and that you're trusting with your life. It just doesn't really sit well with me. Back to the fixie points. You're riding brakeless with a slammed stem, so that's some fixie points right there. Your photos, they're what's the word? They suck. In this photo, if you tapped on your bike, then you would take a picture of your bike instead of the sky. I know it can be difficult to lift your finger and tap the thing that you want to take a picture of, but trust me, the results are worth it. I find it just a little bit distasteful that you're from the Philippines and you're riding a bike called Tsunami. That's like if I were to ride a bike called Wildfire, or if the geniuses over at MASH SF made a bike called the 1989 Earthquake. It just seems weird to me to name something after a natural disaster, especially to use this bike where you could very well experience said natural disaster. At any rate, at least your Tsunami is a nice coral color, so in the event that it is reclaimed by the ocean, it'll make a nice addition to it. Plus 42 fixie points. That's it for this episode of Fixie Points, and if I remember correctly, I think that first Bianchi is the winner. It doesn't matter, but hooray for you. And if you want to have your bike featured on Fixie Points, be sure to email your photos to me at iam@gallardo.com with Fixie Points in the subject line. Speaking of Fixie Points, our channel sponsor, Wabi Cycles, is the epitome of what makes cycling fun. Every one of Wabi's design choices are meticulously made to give the purest ride quality for the money. And Wabi executes those choices perfectly, handmade by master craftsmen in Taiwan and a friendly bike shop in Denver, Colorado. This amounts to efficient, elegant, and timeless bikes that you can get from a passionate group of fellow cyclists. Wabi's relentless attention to detail results in Wallace, my 58cm Wabi Special, weighing in at 17.5 pounds, or 7.97 kilograms, and I say both measurements because Wabi does indeed ship internationally. It results in the best riding experience that I've ever had, with a snappy and lively ride quality that only top-tier steel can bring. That pure fun makes it easy for me to ride Wallace, my Wabi Special, as my only bike as I travel throughout Asia. So if you're looking for a bike that could very well put an end to your search for the perfect bike, consider checking out our channel sponsor Wabi Cycles, linked at the top of the description, because honestly, it's the closest thing that I've ridden to the perfect bike. I just want some more fixie points, is all. And if you dislike this video, I'm surprised that you even made it to this point in the video, but remember to give it a thumbs down to let me know. But if you like this video, remember to give it a thumbs up to let me know that you want to see more videos like this one. And life is short, but don't make it shorter, so ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous.